10.
Hello everyone, thank you for coming. We're lucky today to have Kirti with us. Kirti is probably the main person behind the project AsiaOnline. What they're doing is trying to translate Wikipedia into several different South Asian languages. They're using machine translation for this, and it's not just that they are using it, but they are developing machine translation systems for these languages, which is something that didn't exist before. This is a very big project that will probably change many people's lives. Well, I'll let you talk about it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to give you a perspective on how AsiaOnline came into being. What were the sort of primary motivators in creating the company, and the fundamental vision behind the company, and how both the vision and the technology evolved to make this happen. And there is a very strong undercurrent of a large translation project underlying the whole initiative, and I'll give you some perspective on how we came to them, and also where we see the whole world of translation going, as other people start to do projects like this. We're one of the first, but I'm sure there'll be others. So if you start by looking at the internet, this was a shot taken of the internet in 2007, late 2007, and those red dots indicate where the internet activity is concentrated. And this shows you the amount of communication happening across the main sectors of the internet. So you see, the internet is really very much a G7 affair. It is not a World Wide Web. It is just, it is dominated by people in America and Europe. And when you contrast this with the population of the world, you see that there is a huge number of people in Asia that are completely, there's not a lot of dark spots on Asia. There's very little activity really today happening in Asia. And, so most of the internet is concentrated in North America and Europe. And so at AsiaOnline we said that, what we believe is that this is a major opportunity. And we need to find a way to get more people onto the web. And so we took a look at why aren't there more people on the web in these countries? And when we look at forecasts made by, this is one of many forecasts, but if you look around, you'll see that in general, there is agreement that Asia is going to produce more than half the world's users, in the next 5 years. And there will be a very strong Asian presence on the web, which, has implications that are not yet understood. This is a recent study done by Forrester, where they said that if you look in 2008, these were the countries with the most internet users. And by 2013, you're going to see that China, India, and Brazil are in the top 5. And interestingly, these 3 countries also happen to be the fastest growing economies in the world. So their dominance, their presence, their influence on the internet is going to be significant. Most people, when they think of Asia, they say, oh, China and India is what you tend to hear. And the public perception in the West mostly is that that is where the opportunity is, and those are the key drivers. And that's true. They are the key drivers, but the fastest growth in the internet population is coming from smaller countries that most people are not aware of. Indonesia, Pakistan, the Philippines. There's many smaller Asian countries that have very, very fast, 200, 300, 400% growth per year in the online population. So if you look at the internet population, and this is, again, 2008 stats, you see that already China is the largest single population in the world, and larger than the US population. And you can also see the chart shows you this little thing in here, shows you how penetrated the market is. So we see that in the US, you're at 72%. There's grandmothers and children that are not likely to go on the web. So you'll get to maybe 75, 78, 80% maybe. But you don't have much more room to really build growth there. But when you see India is at 4%, just a little sliver, is already 60 million. So when you start getting to 15 and 20%, it becomes a very significant online population that presents lots of commercial opportunities for people that are interested in global commerce. So just interested in communication with different people in the world. So when you see the evolution of this, you see how rapidly, from 2002 to 2008, how China grew from, 45 million people in 2002 to 253 million in 2008. So that's just 6 years. We are in that phase. You saw there are a couple of people from India. There are a number of initiatives to start getting Indian languages more web-friendly and more content being created in those languages. And so you're going to see, huge ramp up there. And there's going to be a significant growth over the next few years. There's a lot of discussion about the next billion users. And all the big high-tech companies are always talking about Intel and Microsoft, they all talk about the next billion users. And for most people, this means let's get infrastructure into the hands of the people that don't have web access right now. This is one laptop per child. There's initiatives to create really cheap versions of Windows, really cheap access, communication access. But there's very little focus on where the content's coming from. Most of the discussion in the public forums, in the corporate initiatives that are trying to get web access to the rest of the world, is focused on hardware and infrastructure, but very little on content. And some say the world is flat. We believe it's not. That you see that where you have a large concentration of scientific, scientists and engineers, and you have a lot of investment in R&D, you tend to see prosperity. And if you look at the bottom corner there, you see a lot of countries that have potential, but they don't have access to information, and the primary obstacle to them really climbing up this curve is access to knowledge. That it's and this is one way to interpret this chart, but we believe it shows that as more information access becomes available, this cluster will start climbing up this. And this is there's reason to believe that information access is one of the keys to prosperity, to economic security, to economic momentum. And so we took a close look at Southeast Asia. Several of the principals at AsiaOnline have lived and worked in the region for 15, 20 years, and they said, let's take a look at how much content there is on the web in Asian languages. And interestingly enough, this was a survey done in late 2007, from the second half of 2007. And we find that the web, in terms of Asian language content, is primarily Japanese and Chinese, and a little bit of Korean. And then